My name is Suzan. I am am the founder of the Social Few. It's a diversity management network. When I don't work with the Social Few, I work at Bergs as a business developer, Bergs School of Communication. So today we're going to discuss a little bit about what diversity is to us and why it is so important. So it's an overview. So diversity, we see it as a lot of perspectives. With diversity comes a lot of perspectives. I know generally in Sweden, I don't know how it is, I would say pretty much internationally also. When you think about diversity, you think about ethnicity, perhaps age, etc., etc. We see it as perspectives because age is one perspective. With age comes different perspectives. So the more perspectives you can have in a team, at a company, and so on, the higher innovation level you get. So inclusion, because a lot of people speak about diversity and inclusion. Sometimes people, I think, see it as the same thing, which is not. Inclusion is to welcome and to harvest the essence of different perspectives. So we have different perspectives here, but how do we make them into something positive? By working with inclusion. So including the perspectives. That is the difference between diversity and inclusion. So let's take a reality check, so to speak. How is the situation today regarding diversity? So if every fourth or less job seeker is a woman, the chances of a woman getting the job, they are equal to 0%. So let's just let this land a little bit, This is some crazy information. This is a study done by Harvard, and then they've done it in many industries all over the world. So they noticed that when females were somewhere between 50-55%, that's where it evens out. But before that, it's a huge difference. So we have a lot of work to do, I think, right? At the same time, as we see that anonymous application processes lead to 5 times bigger chance of a woman actually getting the job. What does it say? What does this mean? Probably it means that somebody that's interviewing has a filter. Probably very not aware of it. So we need tools, right? We need tools to help us become better at this. At the same time, we see that gender equal companies have an average of 22% higher turnover than those who are not gender equal. So if you think about it, I would say most people would say, like, how come it's not equal, right? Gender equal, it's like, of course it should be. But if that doesn't help, or it's not enough, then this should be, right? It's quite a difference in turnover, I would say, 22%. It's almost 1/4 of, it's a lot. So, okay, this is the situation today. Now we take a look at the situation in Sweden regarding other perspectives. How many percent do we think in Sweden people are, how many people do you think percent-wise do we have people from other backgrounds? Like, what do you think? Anybody? Any can guess? Like with utländsk påbrå, so to speak? 20? Did somebody? 15? 10? In Sweden? Yeah. 100, wow. Exactly. I like that. Depends how long you go back, yeah. Let's take a look. The definition of this is if you're born in another country or if both your parents are born in another country. So the definition, so to speak. So that's one perspective, right? But if we take a little bit deeper look, actually, 1/3 of the Swedish population have at least one parent born in another country than Sweden. So I'm thinking that's a whole lot of representation. We have 1/3 of the population with that perspective. So I think this is where we should start and rethink our ways of including this those perspectives in both recruitment purposes, but also in communications, like who are we actually speaking to? Are we speaking to people with these perspectives, or are we not? So it's time to just like think again, because 1/3 is a lot, and to exclude 1/3 is not good for business. That I can tell you. Anybody knew this? Huh? Cool. Okay. At the same time, as we know that 1/3 of Swedish population has at least one parent born in another country, we know also this, that including companies with a rich diversity among employees see it from solely ethnicity. So this is only this perspective. And within this perspective, there are a lot of perspectives, because ethnicity is quite a broad. Like, what is ethnicity? Depends what ethnicity you have. Each ethnicity is one perspective. So this is quite a complex area, so to speak. But if we look at it solely regarding ethnicity, companies, they perform 35% better than their industry colleagues who are not including this perspective. So this is also, I think, a lot of times when I've been speaking about this, board members from large companies come up to me and they're like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, actually I am. I think McKinsey are quite serious." Yeah, this is for real. They have a higher innovation level and they perform economically better. So they have a like 35% higher omsättning. Oh. Yes. Innovation in this context, what it's just to really understand what. Yeah, just the same as like higher turnover. So this is another word for. Wow, we have to look at this again. So this is another word for that. Like, I'm trying not to say exactly the same thing. Yeah, but the turnover is 35% higher. Yes, good question though. Yeah. Any questions? Because I usually, this is about the time when people are like, "Wait, what? Are you sure?"
Will you talk about it later, what the reasons are for that, why diversity actually makes everything better?
Yes. You're like, why? Yeah. But the why. Yeah. So I usually say this is about the time when you get this information for the first time to go back to your companies, start speaking to people that you work with, ask a lot of questions like what perspective do you have? What perspectives are we represented here at the company? And maybe let's like reframe our processes regarding that. So the next step, like what do we do now with this information? What am I gonna do? Help. So we work with diversity management, and that's definitely something I would recommend every company to start working with, because that's the next step. If you've seen from the company's ecosystem, we have to start with the board of directors. How including are they? Usually those are the ones who contact us, who understand and say like, okay, we have a problem, we have to look at this. So we work with a lot of boards at large companies to look over both regarding gender equality and other perspectives. Because why is it so important to have many perspectives? Because when you ask a question, when you have a problem, if you have one perspective, 5 perspectives, or 10 perspectives, that's how many answers you'll get to your problems. The more answers, the better you solve the problem. So generally, with the right processes, you can harvest the perspectives that come out of many perspectives. So for example, I came in contact with a board where the chairman of the board contacted me and said, "Look, okay, can you come and speak to us? How should we become better generally? Can you first take a look at us, see what's wrong?" When I came there were actually not one female. So I was quite intrigued also because they contacted us. They know it's a problem. So that's the first step. That's amazing. So I was there. Okay, so let's take a look at your perspectives. I'm going to throw out a question here. Let's see how you answer it. So I threw out a question about their target group. I got 2 answers because they were so sure that they knew the answers. I got 2 answers from 10 people in the same boardroom. I asked the same question to another board with a lot of more perspectives. And then I came back to them with the answers. They had 20 answers. That's the difference when you work with diverse groups, perspective-rich groups, and perspective-poor groups. So when they got the 20 answers, they were like, "Oh my God, we didn't even think about this." Because, of course, they don't have the perspectives that, to be able to answer the questions, which is perfectly normal. They're human. But there has to be a lot of different humans in the same room in order to be able to solve the problem. So we start with the board. Then we go over to the leadership part. Because a lot of companies think, okay, now we're going to recruit 50 people with other ethnicities, and this is going to be so much fun. Okay, good. Now we put them in the same room as people who have worked there for 20 years, and let's see some magic happen. Yeah, because the innovation will be like rising amazingly, this is where it happens. Well, it's not. Because they don't have processes, they don't have leaders that actually know how to include new perspectives with the perspectives that are, I won't say old, but the ones that have been working there for quite some time. But it can be magic if you have the right processes and you have the right leadership. So leadership is actually the second thing you should do after convincing your board. That you need to put a budget for this. Then we have HR and recruitment. How do we work there? What are our processes there? Do we have anonymous processes or not? Is it and so on and so on. This is where you need to take a look at your culture. How do we deal with different types of problems coming from different perspectives and so on. This is very important to keep your talent. You need to work with this. Communication, who are we communicating to? What are our target groups? I'm assuming I'm actually not assuming, I've been to a lot of big companies, especially within all industries, I wouldn't say all, but many anyway, where you think you have a target group. And, you don't see the potential of broadening your target group. If you communicate the right way, if you include more, then you can actually make more money. You just have to do it right. And to be able to do it right, you have to work with recruitment because your team needs to be diverse. Otherwise, you can't speak diversity if you're not diverse, right? Because it leaks. You can have campaigns that you call diversity-rich campaigns. Then you look at the team that work with it. It's like, no, it's not diverse. That's why it's not really correct. And that's why you're losing margins. That's why you're losing customers, and so on. So yeah, it has to be 360. And then, of course, CSR. Where do we put our money? Why do we do that? How do we engage our people? And so on. And then, not the least, innovation. But that's the next step. So, I say generally, take a look at your target groups. Dissecate it into different perspectives, not into personas, because we're all different. That's a good thing. Look at your team, your department, your company. What perspectives do you have? Are they the same? If the answer is no, reframe, rethink, because this is what you need to do. Any questions? I'm amazed. Like, no questions. So, I usually say broaden, work with, and be your target group. Understand your target group. Because in the end, I'm very fascinated over the fact that I can still come to great companies, like big companies, very famous international companies, and they're like, but we work with inclusion and diversity. We work with CSR. We give a lot of money from our turnover, which is fine. It's actually amazing, but you need to work with diversity at your company because it's not about charity. It's about survival. As a company, you want to be here in 10 years? Actually, you want to be in 5 years? Yeah, I would say this is what you need to do. Because there are different, we talk about digital transformation, which is absolutely, I work with that every day, and it's very important. But this type of transformation, this is at least as important if you don't work with diversity today. Well, thank you.